YouTubers, this is another video from your friendly neighborhood reviewer Evelyn. So today we're going to be continuing reviewing the new Korean drama series Reborn Rich. If you want an explanation what this series is about, see the thumbnail of my video which I reviewed episode 1 and 2. So episode 3 we start off with the young Jin Do-jung, played by Song Joong-gi, asking his grandfather to buy him a patch of land, in which the grandfather is like, this patch of land is only good for pottery. And then we get a time jump forward where Jin Do-jung is already much older, the character that Song Joong-gi is playing, and he's already got himself into law school. And also we get the beginning shot of which the grandfather and him are atop of the building of the bank, seeing the lay of the land. And of course the grandfather is trying to figure out whether his grandson has psychic powers or he's incredibly smart for him to know the future. Because the grandfather does try to interrogate his grandson, saying, "You know this was going to happen?" And of course, Jin Do-jung goes and says, "No, I just saw how the projection of the future would look like." Because Jin Do-jung, I won't refer to Song Joong-gi's previous character's name to make it more simpler. He just tries to rationalize it to people that are stunned on how much he was able to predict what's going to happen in the future by using like more math, statistics, and just, analyzing the situation. And then we get a shot in which the grandfather tells Jin Do-jung, says, "You know how much money you made from this plot of land that's been redeveloped into a small city?" And we find out he earned himself $24 million dollars, or their currency in Korea. And the grandfather tells Jin Do-jung, "What are you going to spend the money on? You could buy at least 20, almost quite a lot of houses. You still wouldn't, run out with the money. You can buy yourself all the education in the world and you have hundreds of degrees." So the grandfather is trying to ask his grandson what you're going to do with the money, but Jin Do-jung stays quiet. And then we get put forward in which the grandfather tells his right-hand man, "Oh, you see, he's still such a young boy to be carrying that money." And his right-hand man goes and tells him, "I think 24 million is too much for a young person to have." And the grandfather thinks that Jin Do-jung is not going to do anything, but the right-hand man tells him that, Do-jung went and changed all the 24 million pounds in their currency, the money, into dollars, into proper American dollars, which leaves the grandfather stunned because they don't know what's his intention. So episode 3 is about the battle for the Soo-young group to get hold of Hando Steel, this company that manufactures steel, because we get within the series we get real footage from, I suppose, what happened in the early 90s in Korea with the money troubles, the recession, companies collapsing due to bankruptcy, and Hando Steel was one of it. And we see that the chairman of Soo-young Group, the grandfather, wants to get Hando Steel. He doesn't want the other rival company, the Daeyoung Group, to get it, because there's like rivalry between these two companies. So the grandfather tells his older son, who's the vice president at the time, that in a board meeting that we can't let Hando Steel go to the Daeyoung Group. And the grandfather tells his son, "We won't spend less than 300 million in their currency in Korea, nothing more or nothing less." And his son is like, "What? How?" And then we see that within episode 3, Jin Do-jung goes and convinces his dad, who's now importing movies, as a movie producer, that he wants to go to America with him to import a new movie. And then we find out through a flashback that Jin Do-jung, as a young boy, helped his family to become, quite wealthy when they imported at the time the film Home Alone, which in this show it's tried to be a bit more international, because in that flashback scene the dad of Jin Do-jung says, "You're still quite young, you may know about movies. Who would want to see a very gloomy movie for Christmas about a young boy that spends Christmas alone?" But we see, of course, later down the line that movie has become a cult classic for Christmas. And Jin Do-jung tells his father, "I gave you this office, maybe I can buy you the whole building." In which they do. They go to America, and coincidentally, Jin Do-jung goes and tells his dad, "Let's import this movie." And then we see the poster of Titanic. When I saw that, I was like, wow, okay. And when they're in America, which I doubt they actually went to America, for the filming of this show. Jin Dong-ju goes and meets another investor guy. I don't remember his name. I'll see if I put the name. He bumps into this investor guy. He's meant to be Korean American, and while he was eating a donut, and this investor guy goes and tells him like, well, you just made me drop my donut. And it has some weird conversation that the investor says, each time, like, the donut is connected to my investment because he's planning to invest 10 million on the movie. So we get a funny scene in which Jin Dong-ju is trying to convince his dad to import this movie, and then we see the older brother, which the older brother is a bit eccentric. He's like probably the person to bring the happiness a little bit, because despite Song Joong-ki's character living in a different body and for many years, I'm still surprised he didn't like chalked out to maybe I'm going crazy and I really am the grandson, that he's remember all these facts. But we can see a genuine love that Jin Do-jung has for his older brother. He's a little bit eccentric, he's like a bit wishy-washy, but he makes everybody smart, including his own dad. And the funny scenes where the older brother tells Jin Dong-ju and the dad that who's gonna want to watch a movie about a boat sinking, and they start referring to other movies about water disasters and how it didn't went well, like Waterworld, let's say Kevin Costner. But the investor guy's there with the another K-pop idol singer called Tiffany, who's playing like the secretary of Rachel. She can speak English, so we can have her over exaggeration of American speaking. And the investor guy, they hear him saying that, oh, I do want to invest in Titanic. And there's a lot of shade going towards Kate Winslet when Tiffany goes and says, who's going to be wanting to see a middle-aged looking woman? In which the investor guy goes and says, we're in a tough recession at the moment. Do you think the movie audiences want to see a perfect, beautiful young girl? They want to see somebody they can relate to, in which they do. So to cut the long story short, within episode 3, Jin Dong-ju manages to convince the investor guy to partner up with Jin Dong-ju, because he has like a lot of money at this point in an investment group. Because Jin Dong-ju's aim is not to let the other family members within his own family to take over Hando Steel. So he convinces the investor guy to, within his own company Power Shares, to put their stake into Hando Steel. And when this happens, the whole family of the So-young group are like completely going like, what the hell's going on? What the hell's going on? And which forces the eldest son to try to match the 500 million that the creditors of the Hando Steel by going to 750 million. So inadvertently, Jin Dong-ju makes the So-young group get into more debt by maybe Dong-ju wanted to get Hando Steel, but then again his gamble was to get the So-young group to get into even more debt. So from episode 4 to 5, we realized that Jin Do-ju's reason for getting Hando Steel was to save his father's job of his original body of Hee-won, the original character he's meant to be. And of course at the same time make through his investor guy, because he's using the investor guy as the figurehead for the moment, because of course Song Joong-ki's character doesn't want his grandfather or his family members to know yet that he's the majority shareholder behind what's going on here, for many reasons. Because of course this family is at war with each other. They take money before family. But then the main guy of Lee Sung-min as the chairman, he has a lot of charisma and he has a lot of narcissism. So we can see him trying to figure out who's the person behind the investor guy, who's the one who's funding this guy to go and say that he'll try to take over Hando Steel. So ultimately, Song Joong-ki's character tells the investor guy that we need to save the jobs in Hando Steel, and the investor guy is like, I didn't partner up with you for trying to, save people's jobs. I'm here to make money. So Song Joong-ki was about to, negotiate with his grandfather, maybe reveal the facts prematurely, but instead he looks at a different way to save the company and save the jobs by getting the investor guy to tell the grandfather, let's partner up together. I'll give you all the money to get Hando Steel, but in one condition, you go and save the jobs. In which the grandfather doesn't like the idea, but we find out that he says yes. And then we got understanding in that time that all the conglomerates, the rich businessmen in Korea, that they have conversations directly with the president. The other funny thing within this show, when the president, I think of Korea at that time, I don't know if this is true, and the translation, but the president is like saying, the country is going through a recession. You're gonna have a really awful time, and we're gonna have even more of an awful time, so don't expect nothing less. When I saw that, I think it was between episode 5, like 4 to 5, I was laughing my head off. I was thinking, for a president to tell his citizens that expect more bad times without at least a glimmer of hope, like no wonder a lot of people will be depressed. I just found that to be extremely, extremely funny in a weird pessimistic way. But anyway, I'm getting off the track. So from episode 4 to 5, Jin Dongju manages to force Soo Young Group to get even more debt, because the investor guy is asking Song Joong-ki's character, what's your ultimate aim here? Do you want to take over the Soo Young Group? So on, but Song Joong-ki's character is like, he doesn't reveal anything yet. But we get the kind of sense that maybe he wants to save his original family and his original timeline. So I'm not sure, because I do hope they answer the reason why that Song Joong-ki's original character of Hyo-woo, the one that got murdered, how come he was allowed the supernatural chance of being reincarnated. I hope they don't sweep that under the rubble. Also, parts within the last couple of episodes, we see that the other female lead of So Min-young, well, she, in the original timeline, she was a prosecutor after the So Young Group, but Song Joong-ki goes and meets her like 20 years before the fact, and there's like some kind of connection going on. I think maybe Song Joong-ki knows that she'll be a prosecutor with good moral standing, that maybe he wants to feed her information about the group. Because there's this scene in which he invites her out for a dinner, but in which this dinner included being in this like exclusive club of all the sons and daughters of owners of businesses between different sectors in Korea. And she goes and tells Song Ji-hye's character, like, why did you bring me here? If you was gonna bring me here, you should have told me the truth. And Song Joong-ki goes and tells her, like, what do you mean? And he says, and she goes and says, I feel like I'm in a group full of criminals and so on because of the implications of corruption. But Song Joong-ki goes and tells her the obvious. Do you think, you're the only one that's accepted from these special privileges? And he goes and tells her very, forthrightly, I bet you haven't had the worry to have another job while studying all this time. Your own father is the prosecutor at the moment in Korea. So he goes and tries to tell her the realistic side, not to have these kind of like bleeding heart morals without seeing the reality of the situation. I don't know if there'll be a love interest there, because so far from episode 1 to roughly around 6, we see more of trying to understand this new dynamic of being set in the early 90s to mid 90s of Song Joong-ki. So we kind of see old technology like the fax, how the internet used to run with the modem with that beeping sound as it was like warming up. So as we go forward for the later stages of the episode, we see that the chairman's passion is having a motor company, which is another part of these smaller branch groups in the So Young Group, in which he's trying to make a better car. We see maybe the chairman's passion, he wants to be like Enzo Ferrari, let's say, like that kind of like aesthetic. But even the own chairman recognizes that his motor group is not competing against the Daeyoung Group. And we see during when there was an unveiling of the race car, some things happen and the chairman is not happy and he disappears, and everybody's waiting for him to go and unveil the new car. But Song Joong-ki's character knows where the chairman is because he remembers. We get a flashback of him as well, Song Joong-ki's original body working in the steel company in which he read the biography. So he finds the chairman in a garage shop quite far away where the chairman's tinkering away and he's like these classic cars. And we can see kind of more the bonding in which the chairman is like acting like a barking dog. What are you doing here? Blah, blah, blah. You probably think me having also like this motor car company racing group is a luxury for a rich man or a hobby. And Son Joong-ki goes and gives him some spiel about So-young engine group is the heart of is the engine of the entire group of all the companies that they have under that one name. And the chairman likes the speech that Song Joong-ki gives, and he says, "Oh, can I use that in Bailey?" And he says, "Yes." We can see the chairman sees more potential in his grandson, but then again, he doesn't know the full extent of why. So from episode 5 to 6, Song Joong-ki convinces the investor guy to come and make a new company with him called Miracle Company. And we see that the chairman and the other children within the group, the other sons, are trying to find out who's the person behind the Miracle Group. And that, we're getting closer and closer for, I think, Song Joong-ki and the chairman to face off. And we have to find out what's the ultimate aim for Song Joong-ki and this whole entire series. So this is up to where we are with the series. And of course, we get the heartbreaking scene that when Song Joong-ki's character manages to save Hando Steel and save his dad's job, and he, thinks he's managed to save his mom, because in the original timeline, apparently his mom died of a heart attack. Could be down to stress towards all the bills. So he manages to buy the restaurant building where his mom was there doing the cooking, because the expectation was that maybe he was going to give back the restaurant to his mother. So he goes back, and then he sees there's a funeral. And then we find out that his mom, his original mom, went and killed herself. And then Song Joong-ki is completely heartbroken, thinking, what the hell has happened? And in the midst of all of that, he finds out that his mom had put shares in this other company in the So-young Group of Life and Sciences, but the company liquidated itself, and all the main share people got back the money, but the minority shareholders lost the money. And we can see that's the accumulation between Song Joong-ki changing his ideas, and he says the next project for the Miracle Group is to build like a digital town, maybe similar to Silicon Valley in America, in Korea. And he manages to win rights from the construction company. And this enrages the father. And of course, within episode 4 to 5, the eldest grandson, in which we saw in the beginning of episode 1 that went and whacked Song Joong-ki's original character over the head with a golf club, he's returned. And he also had the idea of building a Silicon type Valley, a digital town for Korea. But Song Joong-ki goes and beats him to it. And then at the end of episode 6, we see that the grandfather has forced the investor guys, telling him that, we want to see who is the real person behind the Miracle Group. And at the end of episode 6, we see Song Joong-ki confronting his grandfather and leaving the grandfather shocked that he's his youngest grandson. Oh, so much to cover within the last couple of episodes. Let me know if I've explained quite well what from the next couple of episodes. What do I expect to see as we move forward? What's the end result? Hopefully the ending is not lackluster as similar to Again My Life. So as I leave you always, stay safe. Bye!